Have you ever felt a chill run down your spine, not from the cold, but from the whispers of the forest around you? As a native park ranger in the Great Smoky Mountains, I have spent countless hours wandering through the ancient trees and misty valleys, but I've also become acutely aware of the shadows that linger just beyond the light. I've seen things here that defy explanation and have heard stories that send shivers down the bravest of souls. If you think you know the beauty of this park, stop right there. You might want to reconsider your next visit until you truly understand what lies beneath the surface. My name is Michael, and I grew up in a small cabin near Gatlinburg, Tennessee, where the mountains cradled my childhood in their rugged embrace. My father, a ranger before me, taught me to respect these woods and to be wary of their secrets. He often spoke of the legends that shrouded the Smokies, tales of lost hikers, and inexplicable happenings that seemed to echo through the trees. As a child, I was fascinated and terrified in equal measure, lingering at the edge of the woods, peering into the unknown. Little did I know those stories were not just folklore. They were warnings. The park is a labyrinth of mysteries, dense forests where the sun struggles to penetrate the canopy, hidden waterfalls that sing a ghostly tune, and trails that seem to lead nowhere. On the surface, it's a paradise for hikers and nature lovers, but beneath the beauty lies a tension, a sense of being watched. The trees are ancient, their gnarled branches stretching like fingers, and when the wind blows just right, it feels as though the forest itself is whispering secrets I'm not meant to hear. It was one crisp autumn evening when I began to notice the first signs that something was amiss. I was patrolling the trails near the Cades Cove area, a place that draws visitors for its stunning vistas and rich history. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, an eerie silence enveloped the woods. Birds, typically lively at that hour, had fallen unnaturally quiet. I shrugged it off at first, attributing it to the approaching night, but then I heard it, a soft rustling, as if something was moving just beyond the tree line, something that shouldn't be there. My heart raced as I stepped closer, flashlight in hand, illuminating the underbrush. I called out to the shadows, half expecting a deer or perhaps a bear, but only silence answered. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. It was a feeling I hadn't experienced since I was a child, a primal instinct urging me to retreat, to leave the woods untouched and unbothered. I forced myself to press on, my footsteps crunching against the fallen leaves, each sound echoing louder in the stillness. That night, I returned home with a heaviness in my chest, an unsettling feeling that had me questioning everything I thought I knew about these mountains. As I sat by the fire, the flames flickering like specters in the dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The shadows seemed to stretch and dance mockingly, and I found myself recalling my father's stories, the ones that once felt like mere tales spun to entertain a child, now resonating with an unsettling truth. He had warned me about the spirits of lost souls, those who wandered too far and never found their way back. As I lay in bed that night, sleep eluding me, I gazed out the window at the silhouette of the mountains against the moonlit sky. It was beautiful, yes, but it also felt like a shroud, concealing the truths that lay dormant within its depths. When you spend enough time in these woods, they become a part of you, and I could feel their weight pressing down, urging me to uncover their secrets. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As I lay there, the chill in the air seeped through my cabin's walls, and I could swear I heard whispers drifting through the open window, soft and melodic, like a lullaby meant for those who had lost their way. I shook my head, trying to dispel the notion that my mind was playing tricks on me, but deep down, I felt the pull of the forest, an urgent beckoning that gnawed at my insides. As dawn broke, I resolved to return to the trails and confront whatever was lurking in the shadows. The next morning, I donned my ranger uniform, trying to shake off the events of the previous night. The sun filtered through the trees, casting dappled patterns on the ground, and I took a deep breath, inhaling the earthy scent of pine and damp soil. I set out along the same path I had walked the night before, but this time I felt different, as if I were stepping into a world that was both familiar and alien. As I ventured deeper into the woods, I came upon a group of hikers, a trio of college students, their laughter ringing through the trees like chimes in the wind. They were fresh-faced and full of energy, enthusiastically recounting tales of their adventures. I approached them, curious and relieved to see other souls in this vast expanse of wilderness. "Hey there," I called out, waving. "You all be careful out here. The mountains can be unpredictable." One of the students, a tall guy with messy hair and a bright red backpack, grinned at me. "We've got it under control, just looking for some awesome views. Heard this place has some killer spots." I couldn't help but smile at their enthusiasm, but as I looked into their eyes, I noticed something, a flicker of apprehension, as if they sensed the subtle tension in the air. "Just remember to stick to the marked trails," I advised, my voice taking on a more serious tone. "And if you notice anything strange, don't hesitate to turn back." They nodded, but I could tell they were brushing off my warning. As they continued on their way, I found myself feeling a strange kinship with them, a longing for the innocence they possessed. I wished I could see the park through their eyes, untouched by the weight of knowledge that had begun to settle on my shoulders like a heavy cloak. I carried on, my senses heightened, scanning the trees for signs of the disturbance I had felt the night before. The atmosphere shifted again as I ventured to a secluded area known for its haunting beauty, an overlook that provided a stunning view of the valley below. I stepped into the clearing, and for a moment I was awestruck. The sight was breathtaking, with a sea of trees stretching endlessly, their colors ablaze with autumn's palette. But just as quickly, that beauty became overshadowed by an unshakable sense of dread. It was then that I noticed something unusual, a trail of disturbed leaves leading into a thicket of underbrush. It was freshly scuffed, as if something had recently passed through, and it piqued my curiosity. Against my better judgment, I followed the trail, the rustling of the leaves beneath my boots amplifying my unease. As I pressed deeper into the thicket, the air grew thick and heavy, and I could feel the hairs on my arms standing at attention. Suddenly, a shadow darted past me, swift and silent. I froze, heart hammering in my chest. "Hello?" I called, my voice trembling slightly. "Is anyone there?" Silence answered, a suffocating void that seemed to swallow my words. I took a cautious step forward, and that's when I saw her, a woman standing just beyond the trees, her back turned to me. She wore a long, flowing dress that seemed to blend with the forest itself, her hair cascading like a waterfall of shadows. I felt an inexplicable pull toward her, but a voice in my head screamed for me to turn back. "Excuse me," I called out again, my voice more forceful this time. "Are you lost?" She turned slowly, and when our eyes met, a chill ran through me. Her gaze was piercing, a mix of sorrow and wisdom that transcended time. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath, yet it echoed in the stillness. "Not now, not ever." Before I could respond, she vanished into the trees, leaving me standing alone in the clearing, my heart racing. I felt an overwhelming sense of foreboding wash over me. This was no ordinary encounter. I could feel it in my bones. I stumbled back to the trail, my mind racing with questions. What had I just witnessed? Who was she? And why did her presence feel like a warning? I needed to talk to someone who might understand what was happening. I decided to visit an old friend, Sarah, who had been a fellow ranger for years before taking a position in the park's visitor center. She had always been fascinated by the folklore surrounding the Smokies, and I hoped she might shed some light on my strange encounter. As I made my way toward the visitor center, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. Glancing over my shoulder, I saw nothing but trees and shadows, but the sensation persisted, a weight pressing down on my chest. I quickened my pace, eager to reach the safety of familiar faces. When I arrived, Sarah was at her desk, surrounded by brochures and maps. She looked up, her face lighting up with a smile. "Michael, it's good to see you. You're just in time for lunch. Want to join?" "Actually, I need to talk to you about something," I replied, my voice laced with urgency. "It's important." Her expression shifted, concern etching her features. "What's going on?" I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the strange woman in the woods, the feeling of being watched, and the shadows that seemed to loom just out of sight. I saw something, someone, out there, and it felt wrong. I can't shake it off. Sarah leaned forward, her interest piqued. "Tell me everything. I've heard stories about things that wander these woods, but I always thought they were just that. Stories." I recounted my encounter, my voice trembling as I described the woman in the forest, the way she had looked at me, and the chill that had settled over me. As I spoke, I could see the gears turning in Sarah's mind. "You might have encountered one of the spirits," she said slowly. "There are legends about people who become lost in these mountains, and they're said to take on a form that draws others in, almost like a siren's call." My stomach twisted at her words. "But why would she warn me? What does it mean?" she sighed, her expression grave. "It could mean she's trying to protect you, or it could mean something far worse. Some spirits are hostile, seeking to lure you away from the living." As we spoke, I felt a tension building, a sense of urgency that this was only the beginning. "What should we do?" I asked, my heart pounding. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she considered the implications. "We need to investigate. If there's something out there, we can't let it endanger others. Let's head back to the trails and see if we can find any traces of this spirit." With a nod, I felt a surge of determination wash over me. I didn't fully understand what we were up against, but I knew one thing: I couldn't let fear dictate my actions. The mountains held secrets, and I was going to uncover them, no matter the cost. As we gathered our gear and stepped outside, the shadows seemed to stretch longer, and I could feel the weight of the forest pressing in around us. This was our domain, but it felt as though the woods were alive, watching, waiting. And I knew then that whatever lay ahead would test not just our courage, but our very understanding of the line between the living and the lost. Together, we set off into the depths of the forest, unaware of the challenges that awaited us. But deep down, I understood that this journey would unravel more than just the mystery of the spirits. It would force me to confront my own fears, the emotional turmoil that had long been buried beneath the surface. And as the trees closed in around us, I could only hope that we would emerge unscathed, with answers that would pierce the veil of darkness enveloping the Smokies. As Sarah and I plunged deeper into the forest, the air thickened around us, and I felt an inexplicable heaviness in my chest. The shadows danced in the underbrush, twisting and turning with every rustle of leaves. My heart raced, not only from the adrenaline of the unknown, but also from a creeping sense of unease that gnawed at my mind. The stories Sarah had recounted about the spirits lingered in my thoughts, and with each step I questioned my own sanity. Had I truly seen a spirit, or was it merely a figment of my imagination? "Michael?" Sarah's voice broke through my reverie. "Are you okay?" I nodded, forcing a smile, but I could feel the tension coiling within me. "Yeah, just thinking about everything." She studied me for a moment, her brow furrowing with concern. "You know you can talk to me, right? If this is weighing on you..." I hesitated, the words caught in my throat. I wanted to confide in her, to share the shadows of my past that haunted me, but the fear of judgment held me back. Instead, I pushed the memories aside, focusing on the task at hand. Let's just find this spirit. We followed the path deeper into the woods, the sounds of nature gradually fading into an eerie silence. The sun was hidden behind a canopy of leaves, casting an otherworldly glow around us. I could feel eyes on us. No, not just eyes. I sensed a multitude of presences lurking just beyond the trees, watching our every move, Then, without warning, the trail ahead became obscured by thick underbrush. I glanced to the left, where a narrow path wound deeper into the woods, almost inviting us. "What do you think?" I asked Sarah, my voice barely above a whisper. "Let's stick to the main trail for now," she replied, but I could see the curiosity in her eyes. The lure of the unknown was palpable, and I felt it tugging at my very being. But as much as I wanted to explore, I heeded her words and pressed on. However, the atmosphere shifted again. The air felt charged, and a sudden gust of wind swept through, the trees rattling the branches and sending a shiver down my spine. I glanced up, and the leaves seemed to swirl in a chaotic dance, almost as if they were warning us to turn back. "Did you feel that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yeah," Sarah replied, her expression grim. "That felt unnatural." As we reached a small clearing, I noticed something unusual, a circle of stones arranged in a perfect ring at its center. My heart raced as I approached, feeling an undeniable pull toward the formation. "What is this?" I murmured, kneeling to examine the stones. They were smooth and cold to the touch, and runes were etched into their surfaces. "Looks like some kind of ritual site," Sarah said, her voice low. "I've never seen anything like it in these woods." A sudden flash of memory struck me, a fragment of my childhood that had long been buried. A story my grandmother had told me about ancient rituals performed by the indigenous people of the land. They believed that certain places were gateways to the spirit world, where the living could commune with the lost. I shivered at the thought. Could this be one of those places? Before I could voice my thoughts, a low hum began to resonate from the stones, vibrating through the air and sending tremors through my bones. My heart raced as I looked at Sarah, fear etched on her face. "What is happening?" she whispered, her eyes wide. "I don't know," I admitted, panic rising in my throat, "but we need to get out of here." As we turned to leave, a shadow flickered at the edge of the clearing, drawing my gaze. There, standing just beyond the stones, was the woman I had seen earlier, the one who had warned me. She looked different now, her features more defined, her eyes reflecting the shimmering light of the stones. "You've come," she said, her voice echoing in the stillness. I felt a chill race down my spine. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking slightly. "What do you want from us?" She stepped closer, her expression hauntingly serene. "I am a guardian of these woods, a keeper of secrets. You seek answers, but the truth is not what you expect." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart pounding. "What truth?" She gestured toward the stones. "This place is a threshold, a connection to the past. It holds the memories of those who have been lost in the woods, lost in their lives. You carry your own burdens, Michael, and they have drawn you here." I swallowed hard, her words striking a chord deep within me. Memories of my childhood flooded back, my father's absence, the weight of expectation, the sorrow that had followed me for years. "You don't know anything about me," I snapped, more defensive than intended. "Don't I?" she replied, her gaze piercing through me. "You've been haunted by your past, running from it. It is what brought you to this place." I felt my heart race, the truth of her words hitting too close to home. "I'm not running," I protested, but my voice faltered. "Then why do you hesitate?" she pressed. "You fear the shadows of your own heart, but they will consume you if you do not confront them." In that moment, I felt as if the ground had shifted beneath me. The shadows I had long buried began to emerge, clawing their way back into my consciousness. I had thought I was here to uncover the mysteries of the forest, but perhaps the real mystery lay within myself. "What do I need to do?" I asked, my voice steadying as I faced her. "Embrace your past," she said softly. "Only then can you understand the true nature of what lurks in these woods. Only then can you help those who come after you." I turned to look at Sarah, who stood frozen at the edge of the clearing, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Sarah?" I started, but before I could finish, the ground trembled again, and the stones began to glow with an otherworldly light. "Michael!" Sarah cried, her voice breaking through the chaos. "We need to leave, now!" The woman's form flickered, the shadows around her swirling like a tempest. "You must choose," she urged. "Face your fears, or let them consume you." With that, the ground shook violently, and I stumbled, struggling to keep my balance. I could hear the whispers again, the lullaby drifting through the trees, coaxing me to stay, to listen. But I knew I couldn't succumb to the darkness, not now. I grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her back toward the path. "We're leaving," I shouted, adrenaline surging through me. "Now!" As we ran, the echoes of the woman's voice trailed. Behind us, intertwining with the whispers of the forest. My thoughts raced, a mix of confusion and clarity. The past was not just behind me, it was intertwined with the present, a tapestry of memories and shadows that needed to be unraveled. We burst through the trees, breaking into the open air, and I collapsed against a nearby tree, gasping for breath. "What just happened?" Sarah asked, her voice shaky. "I don't know," I admitted, trying to gather my thoughts. "But I think I have to confront my past. It's the only way to understand what's happening here." Sarah's eyes widened. "Are you sure? This could be dangerous. What if it leads us deeper into the woods?" "Maybe it has to," I said, my voice steadying. "There's something here that connects us to the spirits. We need to find out what it is." But as I spoke, I felt a flicker of doubt creeping in. Was I truly ready to confront the shadows of my past? The weight of my choices threatened to pull me under, and I couldn't help but wonder if the darkness I faced was more than just a metaphor. Together we stood at the edge of the forest, the trees looming like sentinels, guarding the secrets that lay within. The path ahead was uncertain, but I knew one thing for sure. I had to face whatever awaited me, not only for the sake of the living, but for the sake of the lost, both in the forest and within myself. The journey would demand everything, but perhaps at the end of it all, I would find the answers I desperately sought. And as we stepped back into the shadows, I could almost hear the whispers crescendoing into a haunting melody, beckoning me toward a truth I hadn't yet discovered, a truth that would change everything. As we stepped deeper into the shadows of the forest, the air grew heavier with each passing moment. I could hear the rustle of leaves, the snapping of twigs underfoot, and beneath it all, the faint pulse of something ancient, something that had been waiting for us. I could feel the weight of Sarah's hand in mine, a tether to reality amidst the chaos swirling in my mind. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I could sense the tremor of uncertainty in her words, just as I felt the echo of my own fears clawing at the edges of my resolve. "I have to be," I replied, though doubt crept into my voice. My thoughts raced back to the woman, the guardian of the woods. Her words reverberated in my mind. "Embrace your past." But how? What exactly did that mean? The shadows began to close in around us as we navigated the narrow path, the trees towering like silent witnesses to our journey. I could feel the forest breathing, a living entity aware of our presence. And with that awareness came a profound sense of dread. Every crack of a branch sounded like a warning. Every gust of wind whispered of secrets best left undisturbed. "What if we're not supposed to be here?" Sarah asked, glancing back toward the way we had come. Her apprehension was palpable, and I could see the conflict playing out in her eyes. I stopped, pulling her to a halt. "What if we are?" I countered. "What if this is exactly where we need to be to find the answers?" "Or what if we're just walking into a trap?" she shot back, a hint of fear lacing her tone. "Then we face it together," I assured her, willing myself to believe the words I spoke. I had to be brave. For her, for me. We continued onward, the path narrowing further, the trees closing in as if to shield us from the outside world. As we walked, I began to notice something unusual, scratches and markings on the bark of the trees, symbols I couldn't quite decipher. They seemed to hum with energy, each one resonating with a pulse that matched the rhythm of my heart. "Do you see that?" I pointed to a particularly intricate design, its lines sharp and deliberate. Sarah leaned closer, her brow furrowing in concentration. "It looks like some kind of language," she mused, "but I don't recognize it." "Neither do I admitted. But the markings sent a shiver down my spine. It was a silent testament to those who had come before us, perhaps even a warning. Just as I turned to suggest we move on, a rustling sound erupted from the underbrush, and we both froze. My heart raced as I strained to see through the thick foliage. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispered, her grip tightening around my hand. I nodded, adrenaline surging through me. "Yeah, it came from over there." I pointed toward the sound, my instincts screaming at me to retreat. But curiosity and a strange compulsion urged me forward. "Michael, wait," Sarah warned, but it was too late. I stepped closer to the source of the noise, drawn by an invisible thread. The underbrush parted, revealing a small, dark opening, a cave. The air that wafted from it was cold and heavy, laced with the scent of damp earth and decay. I hesitated, glancing back at Sarah, whose eyes widened in alarm. "Are you out of your mind?" she exclaimed, pulling me back. "We can't go in there?" "Maybe we have to," I insisted, feeling the pull of the unknown. "What if there's something inside that can help us understand what's happening? I don't want to get lost in there," she said, her voice trembling. "We barely made it out of the clearing. What if this is another trap?" Her words cut through me, and I felt the weight of my decision. Was I really prepared to venture into the darkness? I could almost hear the echoes of the woman's voice again, urging me to confront my fears. But was this the right way to do it? Taking a deep breath, I made my choice. "Look, we'll just take a quick peek. If it feels wrong, we'll leave. But I can't shake the feeling that this is connected to everything." "Fine," Sarah relented, her expression a mix of fear and determination. We approached the cave, the darkness swallowing us as we stepped inside. The walls were damp, glistening with moisture, and the air felt charged with an energy I couldn't quite place. I could barely see, but I could hear the distant drip of water echoing in the stillness. "Maybe this was a bad idea," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling as she glanced back at the entrance. "Stay close," I urged, trying to suppress my own rising anxiety. But as we ventured further into the cave, the darkness thickened around us, wrapping us in a shroud of uncertainty. "Look," Sarah exclaimed suddenly, pointing toward a faint glimmer ahead. "What is that?" I squinted, trying to make out the shape in the darkness. As we approached, the glimmer revealed itself to be a series of stones, arranged in a spiral pattern on the cave floor, much like the ones we had seen in the clearing. "What is this place?" I wondered aloud, kneeling to examine the stones. They were warm to the touch, as if they had absorbed the energy of the earth itself. "This feels wrong," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We should go back." But as I reached for one of the stones, a sudden surge of energy coursed through me, and the cave erupted with light, illuminating the walls with swirling patterns of color. I gasped, stumbling back as visions flooded my mind. Images of people, faces twisted in anguish, cries for help echoing in the air. "Michael!" Sarah shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "Get away from there!" I could barely hear her over the cacophony of voices, the overwhelming sensations threatening to pull me under. "I can't!" I yelled back, feeling the weight of their pain pressing against my chest. "They need help!" In that moment, I was paralyzed, trapped between the past and the present, the spirits crying out for release. I could sense their anguish, their stories intertwining with mine, each one a thread in the tapestry of loss that had brought me here. "Michael, please." Sarah's voice cut through the haze, and I felt her hand on my shoulder, grounding me. "You have to come back!" With a surge of clarity, I tore my gaze away from the stones, breaking the connection. The light dimmed, and the echoes of the past faded into silence. I stumbled back, gasping for breath, my heart racing. "What just happened?" I panted, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. "I don't know, but it was terrifying," Sarah replied, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to get out of here, now!" I nodded, the urgency of her words snapping me back to reality. We turned to leave, but as we reached the entrance, the ground beneath us trembled, and an unseen force pushed us back, "No," I shouted, trying to push against the energy that held us captive. "Let us go!" But the cave responded with a low rumble, the stones vibrating beneath our feet. Suddenly, I felt a presence behind us, cold and heavy, wrapping around me like a fog. I turned and the woman stood there once more, her form flickering in and out of focus. "You have awakened the spirits," she said, her voice echoing in the hollow chamber. "They are restless, and you must help them find peace." "Help them?" I echoed, panic rising within me. "How? I don't know how to do that." "You do," she insisted, stepping closer. "To aid them is to confront your own shadows. Only then will the path be revealed." I felt the weight of her words, the gravity of the choice laid before me. I could run, retreat to the safety of the outside world, but the truth was, I couldn't. "Escape what was inside me, Sarah," I said, turning to her. "I need to do this. I need to confront my fears." "Michael, please," she began, but I cut her off, my mind made up. "No more running. I can't do that anymore." The woman nodded, her eyes filled with an understanding that transcended time. "Then step forward and embrace your destiny. The answers you seek lie within." With a deep breath, I stepped back into the cave, the warmth of the stones enveloping me once more. I could feel the spirits surrounding us, their energy crackling in the air, and as I stood there poised on the edge of the unknown, I knew one thing. I was ready to face whatever awaited me, to confront the truth that had haunted me for so long. I closed my eyes. The whispers of the lost began to swell around me, rising like a tide, and I braced myself for the revelations that would come. This was only the beginning. The real journey was about to unfold, and I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet, guiding me into the depths of my own soul. With every heartbeat, I felt the connection grow stronger, and as the light flickered once more, I knew that as I stood at the precipice of this moment, a whirlwind of emotion swirled within me, fear, determination, and an overwhelming sense of purpose. The cave pulsed with energy, the spirits surrounding me, their whispers rising like a tide, eager to crash against the shore of my consciousness. I could feel Sarah's anxious presence behind me, her worry a tangible weight on my shoulders, but I had made my choice. I had to confront this darkness, both within and without. The woman's ethereal form seemed to shimmer, her eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that pierced through my doubt. "To find peace for the lost, you must first face your own shadows," she repeated, her voice echoing in the cavern, intertwining with the whispers of the spirits. I closed my eyes, allowing the energy in the cave to envelop me. The warmth of the stones beneath my fingers grounded me, reminding me of my resolve. I took a deep breath, inhaling the musty air laced with memories of those who had come before. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice steady, despite the chaos swirling around us. "Your truth," she replied, a gentle yet firm command. "Only by accepting your past can you help them find their way. They are lost, Michael, just as you are." The weight of her words settled like a stone in my stomach, and I felt the ground beneath me tremble again, as if the cave itself was urging me to act. I thought of the visions I had seen, the anguish, the cries for help. I thought of my own past, the ghosts that haunted me, and the pain I had tried to bury for so long. I don't know if I can do this," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "What if I'm not strong enough?" "Strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to confront it," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "You have the power to heal. You must trust yourself." As I stood there, uncertainty gnawed at my resolve, but I felt Sarah's presence behind me, a reminder that I wasn't alone. I turned to her, searching her eyes for reassurance. "What if I get lost in this? What if I can't come back?" Her grip tightened on my arm. "You won't. I'll be right here. We'll face it together." Her words ignited a spark of courage within me. I nodded, taking a step forward, closer to the spiraling stones that beckoned me like a siren's call. The energy surged, wrapping around me like a cocoon, and I felt the pull of the spirits, their cries mingling with my own fears. As I knelt before the stones, I reached out, my fingers grazing the surface. Instantly, a flood of memories washed over me. My childhood, filled with laughter and light, but also shadows of guilt and regret. The faces of those I had lost, moments I wished I could change, and fears that had chained me to the past. Let it come, the woman urged. Embrace the pain, the sorrow. Only then can you release it. I took a deep breath, allowing the memories to wash over me, each one a wave crashing against the shore of my consciousness. I felt raw and exposed, but amidst the turmoil, I sensed something shifting within me, a flicker of hope. "I'm sorry," I whispered into the darkness, the words spilling out of me like a confession. "I'm sorry for the pain I've caused, for the things left unsaid." The air around me vibrated with energy, the spirits swirling closer, their presence a comforting balm against my anguish. I closed my eyes, surrendering to the moment, and as I did, I felt a surge of warmth envelop me, a bright light piercing through the shadows. Suddenly, a voice broke through the cacophony, a familiar voice. "Michael?" It was my father, his face emerging from the darkness, eyes filled with a love I had longed for, but never fully understood. "Dad?" I gasped, disbelief washing over me. "Is it really you?" He nodded, stepping closer, the light around him shimmering like a beacon. "I've always been with you, son. You just needed to find your way back." The emotions crashed over me like a tidal wave, and I felt tears streaming down my face. "I never meant to let you down. I've been so lost without you." "It's okay," he said, his voice soothing. "You've carried the burden of my absence for too long. It's time to let it go." But then, the moment began to shift. The darkness around us thickened, and I felt the spirits growing restless, their cries rising in intensity. "No!" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. "I can't lose you again." "You won't," he assured me, but the shadows closed in, warping his image. "You must face this darkness, Michael. Only then can you find peace." The woman stepped forward, her expression grave. "The shadows are strong, but they cannot hold you if you choose to fight. Embrace your pain, embrace your truth." Suddenly the cave shook violently, and I stumbled, trying to maintain my balance as the ground beneath me bucked. "Michael!" Sarah screamed, her voice cutting through the chaos. "What's happening?" "I don't know," I yelled. Back, fear lacing my words. "But I can't let go. I can't lose him again." But as the shadows pressed in, I felt a surge of determination rise within me. I turned to Sarah, her face a mixture of fear and support. "We can do this together," I shouted, my voice rising above the growing tumult. "We can face this," I reached out, taking her hand firmly in mine. Together we formed a barrier against the encroaching darkness. The cave trembled as the spirits surged around us, their cries mingling with our own. "Together!" I shouted, and we both closed our eyes, focusing on the light within us. I felt the warmth of Sarah's hand, our connection anchoring me. "We will not be afraid." The shadows writhed in response, but our combined strength began to push back against them. I could still hear my father's voice, echoing in the recesses of my mind, urging me on. "Let it go, Michael. You are stronger than you know." With every ounce of my being, I channeled that strength, releasing the pain and guilt I had carried for so long. The light within us intensified, wrapping around the spirits, embracing them in a cascade of warmth. The cave erupted in a blinding flash, the darkness retreating in the wake of our unified light. I felt the presence of the spirits shift, their cries transforming from anguish to relief. As the shadows receded, I opened my eyes to see the cave illuminated, the stones glowing with a brilliant radiance. The woman stood before us, her expression one of approval. "You have done well," she said, her voice echoing like a soft breeze. But just then, a sudden force surged through the cave, knocking us to the ground. I turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a dark silhouette, looming and formidable. "Foolish mortals," it bellowed, the voice like thunder, reverberating through the cavern. "You think you can banish me so easily?" My heart raced as I recognized the malevolent presence, the very entity that had been feeding off the pain and fear of the spirits, keeping them trapped in this realm. No, I shouted, scrambling to my feet. We won't let you take them anymore. Toshchum. Figure laughed, a chilling sound that echoed against the cave walls. You think your light can defeat me? I thrive on despair. Your past is my power. The air crackled with tension as I faced this dark entity, a physical embodiment of everything I had feared. But as I stood there, I realized something profound. I had already faced my past. I had confronted my pain, and now I had the strength to fight back. Together, I said to Sarah, who stood resolutely beside me, unyielding in her determination. Together, she echoed, squeezing my hand tightly. The figure lunged at us, darkness swirling around it like a storm, but we held our ground, channeling the light within us. We are not afraid, I shouted, our voices rising in unison. The light erupted from us, a blinding force that collided with the darkness, creating a shockwave that reverberated through the cave. The shadows writhed and recoiled, the entity's laughter turning into a roar of fury. No, it shrieked, the darkness fracturing under the weight of our combined light. As the energy surged, I felt the spirits joining us, their voices merging with ours, creating a chorus of defiance against the darkness. The entity howled, its form dissolving in the face of our unity, and then, with a final surge, the darkness shattered, dissipating into the air like smoke, leaving behind only silence. We stood there, panting, the cave alight with the glow of the stones, the spirits finally free. I turned to Sarah, my heart racing with the magnitude of what we had achieved. Did we do it? I gasped, disbelief flooding my senses. She nodded, tears of relief glimmering in her eyes. We did. The woman smiled, her form radiant with light as the last echoes of the darkness faded. I stood amidst the remnants of our battle, my chest heaving with the exertion of what we had just faced. I could feel the warmth of the cave stones beneath my fingers and the flickering light illuminating the shadows that once dominated this place. But with that warmth came an undeniable chill. I was alive, but I could feel the weight of my scars, both physical and emotional, beginning to settle in. Michael, Sarah's voice broke through my thoughts, a soft whisper filled with wonder and concern. I turned to her, finally allowing myself to truly see the relief etched across her face. We did it. We actually did it. Yeah, I breathed, still trying to comprehend the enormity of our victory. But as the adrenaline began to fade, I felt the remnants of pain clawing at my heart. The shadows that had once consumed the spirits now felt like a lingering presence within me. I had confronted my past, but the scars it left were still raw, still aching. The woman, luminous and serene, stepped closer. You have freed many souls today, Michael, but remember, the journey of healing is ongoing. The darkness you faced was but a reflection of your own shadows. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words like a heavy mantle resting on my shoulders. But what about you? What will happen to the spirits now? She smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that held centuries of wisdom. They will find their way. You have given them the light they needed to move on. As for me, I will remain as a guide for those who still seek their truth. A part of me wanted to reach out for her, to ask more questions, to uncover the layers of the mystery we had just unraveled. But as I looked around the cave, I felt an urgency to leave this place, to take the light we had created and carry it into the world beyond. Let's go, I said to Sarah, my voice stronger now. We need to get out of here. As we made our way back through the cave, I could sense a change in the air. The oppressive darkness had lifted, replaced by a soft, gentle light that seemed to breathe life into the stone walls. I felt lighter, yet the weight of my past lingered, a reminder of what I had faced and what I still had to confront. Once outside, the sun greeted us with open arms. The bright sky felt like a balm against the darkness I had just emerged from. But as I stood in the light, I couldn't shake the feeling that something remained unresolved. Michael, Sarah said, her voice tinged with an underlying tension. What if this darkness comes back? What if it finds a way to return? I glanced at her, searching her eyes for the reassurance I needed. "We'll be ready. We faced it once. We can do it again." But the truth was, doubt gnawed at me. I had fought valiantly, yet I felt a thread of uncertainty weaving through my thoughts. Had we truly vanquished the darkness, or had we merely pushed it back into hiding? As we walked toward the edge of the forest, I caught a glimpse of something shimmering out of the corner of my eye. I turned, my heart racing. Just beyond the trees, a figure stood watching us, cloaked in shadows. "Who is that?" Sarah whispered, taking a step closer to me. "I don't know," I replied, my instincts kicking in, "but we should be careful." The figure shifted, and for a brief moment, I thought I saw a familiar face. Someone I had lost long ago. My heart raced as I tried to focus, but the image wavered like a mirage, slipping away just as quickly as it had appeared. "Michael!" Sarah's voice broke through my thoughts again, urgent and sharp. "We need to go!" I nodded, forcing myself to look away from the shadows that beckoned me. As we hurried down the path, I felt a strange mix of emotions swirling within me. Relief, yes, but also an unease that clung to my skin like a second layer. When we reached the clearing, I turned to Sarah, my heart heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. "We need to talk about what just happened, about the entity and the shadows." She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "I know. I felt it too. It's like there's still something lurking beneath the surface." "Exactly." I took a deep breath, the air filling my lungs with clarity. "We faced a powerful darkness today, but it seems like we've only scratched the surface. There's something deeper at play here, something we need to uncover." As we settled against a nearby tree, I felt a sense of urgency mixed with fear. The confrontation had been monumental, but it had left cracks in the foundation of my understanding. The shadows I had banished. Were they truly gone, or were they merely waiting for a moment of weakness to return? "Michael," Sarah began, her voice steady, "whatever happens next, we face it together. I won't let you go through this alone." I looked at her, gratitude swelling in my chest. "I don't know what I would do without you, Sarah. You've been my anchor through all of this." Her cheeks flushed slightly, a smile breaking through her seriousness. "We're a team, and we can't let fear dictate our future." As we sat there, I realized that while I had faced my own demons, there was still a battle to be fought, not just against the darkness that sought to return, but also within myself. I had made progress, yes, but the journey toward healing was far from over. In the distance, I caught sight of the cave, now a glimmering beacon of light. It felt like a threshold, a place where I had reclaimed parts of myself, but it also loomed as a reminder of the shadows that still lingered. "I have to go back," I said suddenly, my heart pounding with resolve. Sarah looked at me, confusion flickering in her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I need to understand what we faced. There's something about that darkness that doesn't add up. I have to know if it can come back." She hesitated, and I could see the concern etched in her features. "Michael, it could be dangerous. We don't know if the entity is truly gone." "I know, but I have to do this. I need to confront whatever is left. I need to find out what's really happening." Sarah's expression softened, and a moment of silence passed between us. "If you're going, I'm going with you." A wave of warmth washed over me, and I felt a surge of gratitude for her unwavering support. "Thank you. Together we can uncover the truth." As we prepared to return to the cave, I felt a flicker of hope amidst the uncertainty. But deep down, I knew that the shadows still lingered, and with every step I took toward the threshold, I was venturing into the unknown. With the sun setting behind us, casting long shadows on the ground, I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was far from over. The mysteries we had uncovered only hinted at deeper truths waiting to be revealed. And as we approached the entrance of the cave, I felt a shiver run down my spine, a promise of the challenges yet to come, an echo of the darkness that could still rise to meet us. But I wasn't afraid. I had faced my shadows, and with Sarah by my side, I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Together, we stepped back into the cave, ready to confront the unknown. As we stepped back into the cave, the air thickened with an otherworldly tension, a palpable reminder of the darkness we had confronted. My heart raced, echoing in the silence that enveloped us. With every step deeper into the cave's embrace, I felt the shadows tugging at my consciousness, a reminder of the unknown truths that awaited us. "Stay close," I murmured to Sarah, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her presence a steady anchor against the currents of uncertainty swirling around us. The flickering light from our torches danced along the walls, casting eerie shapes that seemed to shift and breathe, much like the fears lingering in my mind. We descended further, the path winding like a serpent through the heart of the earth. Each footfall echoed, a reminder of the battles fought and the scars borne. I could almost hear the whispers of the spirits we had freed, their gratitude a soft hum in the back of my mind. But the shadows we had glimpsed before felt closer, more tangible, as if they were waiting for us to delve deeper into their lair. Finally, we reached the chamber where our confrontation had taken place. The air felt different here, charged with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. The remnants of our battle lingered like a ghost, a testament to the power we had faced. But as I scanned the cavern, I felt an unsettling presence lurking just beyond the periphery of my vision. "Michael," Sarah said, her voice quavering slightly, "do you feel that?" I nodded, my throat dry as I fought to keep my composure. "Yeah, it's like we're not alone." Just then, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned, and there she was, the figure from the edge of the forest, cloaked in shadows, yet somehow shimmering with an ethereal glow. My heart dropped. It was a face I had known, a spirit I had thought lost forever. "Michael," she spoke, her voice echoing around the chamber, stirring memories I had buried deep within. "You have returned to face the truth, haven't you?" The familiarity of her presence struck me like a punch to the gut. "What are you doing here?" I forced out, grappling with the rush of emotion swirling inside me. "I am the essence of the darkness." "You fought," she replied, her eyes searching mine. "But I am also a part of you. You cannot banish what lies within without confronting it first." A knot tightened in my stomach. "No, I faced my darkness. I freed those souls. I can't be a part of that anymore." She stepped closer, her form shifting between light and shadow. "You freed them, yes. But you must understand, Michael, the shadows you face are not just external. They are the fears, regrets, and memories that reside in your heart. Until you embrace them, they will always return stronger than before." I felt Sarah's hand squeeze mine, a grounding reminder that I wasn't alone in this fight. "Michael," she urged softly, "you can do this. We can do this together." My thoughts raced as I processed her words. The darkness I had fought was not merely a foe to be vanquished, but a part of my own history, a truth I had been unwilling to confront. The battle we had fought had been monumental, but perhaps the true challenge lay ahead. "I refuse to let them consume me," I said, the determination in my voice growing stronger. "I will not be defined by my shadows." With that declaration, I stepped forward, and the figure before me transformed, shifting from a menacing specter to a reflection of my own memories. Faces from my past swirled around us, each one a fragment of my journey, moments of joy, sorrow, regret, and triumph. I saw the people I had lost, the choices I had made, the pain I had endured. Each memory held a piece of the darkness I had faced. "You cannot fight what is a part of you," the figure of my past whispered, her voice now layered with all the voices of my memories. "Embrace us, Michael. Only then can you truly be free." I stood there, grappling with the weight of her words. The shadows felt heavier than ever, yet within them I sensed the flicker of light, my strength, my resilience, my capacity for healing. It was time to confront what I had avoided for too long. Taking a deep breath, I closed my eyes and allowed the memories to wash over me. I felt the warmth of love and the sting of loss, the joy of laughter and the ache of regret. The shadows didn't dissipate. Instead, They began to transform, morphing into a tapestry of my life, a mosaic that told the story of who I was. As I opened my eyes, the figure before me smiled, a serene, knowing smile that radiated acceptance. You have faced the truth, Michael. You are no longer a prisoner of your past. You are its master. In that moment, the cave around us shifted. The oppressive darkness that had once threatened to engulf me began to recede, revealing the light I had carried within all along. I felt lighter, unburdened, as if the shadows that had lingered were finally at peace. Together we faced the darkness, I said to Sarah, turning to her with newfound clarity, and together we'll carry this light into the world. But as we began to walk away, a sense of unease lingered in my heart. I knew that while I had confronted my own darkness, the shadows of the world remained, waiting for a moment of vulnerability to rise again. Michael, Sarah's voice pulled me back from my thoughts. Do you think it's really over? I paused, looking back at the cave, a bittersweet smile on my lips. No, I don't think it ever really is. But now I understand that it's a part of me, a part I can confront, a part I can control. As we stepped out into the light, I felt a surge of hope. We had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, but the journey was far from over. The world was a vast expanse of shadows and light, and I was ready to navigate it one step at a time. With every breath of fresh air, I felt a whisper of the past behind me, a reminder that while I had faced my illusions, new truths awaited just beyond the horizon. And as I stood alongside Sarah, I knew we were prepared to uncover them together. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.